Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to another video. And in this mason jar, I actually made one of my favorite drinks. It's a watermelon limeade. It's amazing. Sprite, watermelon, lime, a little bit of mint in there, and it is genuinely one of the most refreshing drinks in the entire world. So make sure you make one of these if you have some leftover watermelon, and especially now that we're in the summer. But you're not here for drinks, you're here for camera lenses, hence the name of this video. And if you're watching this video, either you're one of my subscribers, and I truly do appreciate you for you clicking on this video and actually watching it. But the other reason you would be here is you want to learn about what camera lens you want to buy next. I have 3 amazing examples of some really good Sony lenses, as well as Sigma lenses, but they're all really good. And I want to talk to you about the different ways that you can use them and the different ways that you can buy them. And buying lenses, they're really expensive. You only want to buy one really good one, stick with that for as long as you can, and then start building up your inventory as you feel the need. And you don't want to buy a lens that you want, you want to buy a lens that you need. And there's a very fine line between that. So today we're going to walk through the difference between wanting a lens and needing a lens, and where those two can marry together into buying your next lens. So starting off with the lens I'm filming on, which is the Sony 10-18 f4. And if you are a vlogger or you shoot videos like this where they're relatively wide, something like this would be amazing. And it's an APS-C lens. However, the build quality of it, the size of it especially, is really amazing for videos like this. And it's relatively sharp. I like it. It looks really good in videos, and as you guys have seen throughout some of these videos, lighting is really important when it comes to videos, and the lens and camera body that you film up are a little bit like in the realm of being able to be changed. If your lighting is relatively good, a video will look good. Now, one of the first lenses I want to talk about in buying is a zoom lens, and these guys, as stated, zoom in and out. This, for example, is the 24-105 F4 from Sony, and this is an amazing lens, both from Sony and from Canon. Canon has their LUSM 24-105, and this is their G OSS from Sony. I have owned both of the lenses. In fact, I filmed a video on comparing the Canon and the Sony, so if you want to check that out, it'll be up in one of the corners here for you to check out at a later time. But this lens is beautiful. It's an f4 lens, so it's not the greatest aperture, it's not the fastest aperture you're going to get, but with something like this, you have the ability to shoot everything. You can shoot video, you can shoot relatively telephoto, you have basically every portrait prime lens in one, a 35, 50, 85, and 105. You have that in this lens. It's an f4, so it's not the greatest, but still, the bokeh looks really good on this lens, even at f4. And if you're just starting out in photography, I would say this lens, or if you have the money, a 24-70 is going to be the best lens that you can buy. This is just extremely versatile, and that's the reason that you would buy this. If you were to just pick up a lens, walk around the city, shoot some urban photography or even portrait photography in a studio where you need that versatility to zoom in and out and get the shot, this is going to be that lens where you can just stay in one place and get so many different compositions. One thing I will say about this lens is, obviously, it's an f4 lens. It is an external zooming lens, so you do have to be careful with it when you are getting any dust or rain inside of this little zoom thing here. Make sure it is weather sealed, but just be more careful with it, be more vigilant, and that is kind of an issue with these external zooming lenses. 24-70 and 70-200 are internal, but now moving on to my favorite lens of all time is an 85mm prime lens. Now, what's the difference between a prime lens and a zoom lens? Well, this one zooms, this one doesn't. This is a fixed 85mm lens, so you're going to get 85mm no matter what you do, unless you put your camera in APS-C mode, but that's something completely different, and we're just talking about the focal length. This lens is obviously a fixed 85mm, but why would you buy a fixed focal length when you can buy a zoom lens? Well, the aperture. f1.4 on this lens is beautiful. You get a beautifully fast aperture, you get amazing bokeh, and the compression on 85mm is gorgeous. This lens is the lens that I would take with me whenever I shoot portraits, and it is always 75-80% of the time on my camera body. I love this lens. I've always loved an 85mm lens. I think that it just renders the most beautiful portraits. It keeps the face as natural as possible, and this lens actually gives the most accurate to-eye visual representation of what you would look like to your own eyes using an 85mm lens. And the compression of this lens is absolutely beautiful. The bokeh on this lens, again, is beautiful because of the f1.4 aperture, but the drawbacks are your fixed focal length. You can't really film a video on this being 85mm. You could, it would just look a little bit weird, but this lens is absolutely gorgeous, and I think the best way to buy your prime lens, because I do think every photographer needs a prime lens, even if you are a zoom through and through, you need to own a prime lens for those dark situations, if you're shooting weddings or anything, or just to get that little extra bit of bokeh. The best way to do that is with buying a zoom lens. So what you'll do is you'll buy this zoom lens. You'll get out, you'll shoot with this for a good 2, 3, 6 months, whatever you need while you're saving to buy a prime lens. And you'll edit them in Lightroom or some other way and just keep the photos. Then when you're ready to buy your prime lens, you'll go into your, for example, Adobe Lightroom and filter by the focal length, because these cameras store metadata on your SD card and in the photos. And you can sort by the most shot focal length. And for example, mine was 85mm, and that's why I ended up buying an 85mm, because obviously I like the way it looks, and I shot 85mm most of the time on that prime, or on that zoom lens. Now obviously it would be like 80, 82, 81, but in the 85mm range. That's why I bought this lens, because I knew I loved an 85mm, and that's what I shot most of the time on a 24-105 or even a 24-70. So yeah, that's why I suggest buying a zoom lens first before you buy a prime lens. And finally, the lens I want to talk about is a very long super telephoto lens. This is the Sony 200-600, and if you want to check this out, I do again have a video on this one. And I think you guys are gonna kind of already know what these lenses are for. These are for those people who need extra reach. If you're a wildlife photographer, if you're a serious sports photographer, in like sports or like, I don't know, soccer or football, a super telephoto lens like this would be amazing. It's a zoom lens from 200 to 600, and it's internal zooming, so obviously there is no bevel extension. It's all inside of this, where the elements will move back and forth to give you that zoom. And it's from a focal length of 200 all the way up to 600, which gives you, again, that super telephoto range. This is a variable aperture lens, however, from 5.6 to 6.3. So as you're zooming, I want to say it's around that 300mm range. It switches from 5.6 to 6.3 aperture. So you do lose about a stop of light when you do shoot with this, but to me, that's not that big of a deal. For the price, this is an amazing lens. So if you are serious about wildlife photography or sports photography in this instant where you need a lot of reach, I would say go ahead, jump the gun on those two lenses and just buy this. If you're going to go out to Yellowstone or the Grand Tetons and you need reach, buy this lens or something equivalent of it, like the 150 to 600 from Sigma, the 400 to 800 from Sony, or even the 400 to 600 from Sigma, the F4 version, which is absolutely amazing. I'm really hoping I can film a video on that. So Sigma, if you want to send it to me, I'd be more than happy to film a video for you guys. But this 200 to 600 is one of those lenses that is not needed to most people, but if you really do enjoy getting that reach out there, then definitely that is going to be one of them. So let's kind of conclude this. So what lenses should you buy? Well, realistically, that's an opinion. I have always been a fan of prime lenses, I think prime lenses are always going to look the best. In fact, I always shoot weddings 90% of the time on a prime lens. I'll shoot a 85mm on 130 or a 135mm on one body, and then I'll shoot a 24 or 35mm on my other body, and they get the job done. It keeps my work consistent, and it gives me the best looking images, and especially the sharpest image that I can possibly give to my client. Now, zoom lenses have their time and place, and I do believe that they are extremely sharp. For example, the 24-70 GM2, 70-200 GM2 is honestly one of the sharpest lenses I've ever shot on. Even the 28-70 f2 is beautifully sharp. However, you're getting an f2 lens or an f2.8 lens as compared to an f1.8, f1.4, or even f1.2. Getting really, really fast apertures. I enjoy it. And maybe it's a little cliche, maybe it's just me, but I love a good prime lens. As far as this really big zoom lens right there, that's going to be for more of a niche if you're in sports photography and you need a lot of reach, or if you're in wildlife photography or even aviation photography where you need that reach. Are all three options amazing? Absolutely. But then again, it is up to you. So if you guys found this video useful, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you guys are going to be buying here, and I'm really excited to see what kind of gear you guys are rocking. I just really think it's cool to see what other people are shooting with. And let me know if you've tried any of those three lenses. Let me know what you think of them. Let me know if I'm making the right decisions on buying lenses. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. As always, peace. God bless y'all. And I'll see you in the next one.